What motivates the Duchess to feature her children so publicly, Duncan?
Well, the minute that Meghan and Harry met, and certainly the moment they got married, Meghan has been building a brand.
No. There they go.
But it does make him look like an absolute fool. I mean, remember the podcast appearance last year when he said no people at all, no parents at all should be posting their children on social media. It's like, well, have you spoken to your wife? She's doing it already.
But this is not coming from Harry, and I think that Harry would be horrified by the fact that, his wife sees this as acceptable.
This latest discussion dives straight into a situation that's raising eyebrows everywhere. A well-known royal biographer has brought forward claims that paint a tense and uncomfortable picture, and the full conversation reveals details that are hard to ignore. The tone? Definitely not flattering, and some of these claims are already stirring reactions. Things reportedly aren't looking peaceful behind the scenes. There's growing talk of constant disagreements, especially when it comes to parenting Archie and Lilibet. Sources suggest the relationship is under serious strain, with Prince Harry said to be feeling isolated and disconnected in California, far from his family and former life.
And Harry has a private room set aside for him at a luxury hotel in California. The reports came from The Sun last week that said sources had told the publication that the Duke of Sussex would occasionally stay at the San Vicente bungalows without Meghan Markle. The hotel isn't too far away from his Montecito home, and according to those sources, it is considered his escape place.
What's surprising is where the biggest tension is said to come from. It's not finances, reputation, or public image, though those issues are still being talked about. Instead, the focus seems to land on the children. Reports claim there's frustration building over how much of Archie and Lilibet's lives are being shared publicly, especially online. According to these claims, Prince Harry is deeply uncomfortable with personal family moments being posted for the world to see.
Harry and Meghan can't have it both ways, can they? They can't talk about their privacy and then put the kids on Instagram.
They are the couple of cake and eat it, aren't they? I mean, they agreed to move out of the UK on conditions they weren't going to be royals anymore, and yet they do go royal tours to Australia and Jordan, and it's all about self-promotion. Yeah, I mean, it is double standards. They argue about their privacy, and then they use their own children to get publicity. It's a triangle doesn't fit in a square peg.
The concern that private memories involving very young children are being turned into public content, something he reportedly never wanted. This has sparked a bigger conversation about consistency. The couple once stepped away from royal life, saying they wanted privacy and less public pressure. But now, critics point out the contrast. Public appearances, media deals, and frequent online sharing are all still part of their current lifestyle.
What it had come to, that I would step my family back from all I have ever known, to take a step forward into what I hope can be a more peaceful life. I was born into this life, and it is a great honour to serve my country and the Queen.
No. There they go. Pop the bunny, Green. Huh? No.
Another point raising questions is the role of the children in all of this. Some observers feel Archie and Lilibet are becoming increasingly visible in content tied to public image, which doesn't sit right with everyone. It's being described by some as a shift away from the original goal of protecting them from attention. Royal commentator insight suggests that Meghan is leading much of the current media direction, especially online. Meanwhile, it's claimed that Harry would prefer a more private approach when it comes to his children's lives. At the center of it all is a bigger debate, privacy versus publicity. And right now, it seems like that balance is becoming harder to maintain, especially with growing scrutiny from the public.
Now, it's my understanding, Duncan, that Harry is not that happy that Archie and Lily are now public figures and that they feature on Meghan's Instagram. You know Harry well. You've written one of the definitive biographies of the prince. Is that your understanding too, that this is not coming from Harry to make the kids celebrities?
I would be 99% certain that this is not coming from Harry, and I think that Harry would be horrified by the fact that, you know, his wife sees this as acceptable. I mean, whether he's got the guts to stick up for himself and say, look, Meghan, this is crossing a line or not.
There's another claim that really adds to the confusion around this whole situation. During a recent discussion, it was suggested that early plans about moving to Africa may not have been as genuine as they seemed. The idea, according to commentary, is that this was presented as something Prince Harry wanted, but things quickly shifted once they left the UK, landing them right in the spotlight of California instead. This ties into a bigger point that keeps coming up: Prince Harry's complicated relationship with fame. From what's being said, he never truly wanted the level of attention that came with being born into the royal family. That life was chosen for him, not by him, and it's something that has followed him ever since. There's even a narrative that he would have preferred a completely different path.
What motivates the Duchess to feature her children so publicly, Duncan?
Well, the minute that Meghan and Harry met, and certainly the moment they got married, Meghan has been building a brand. And it's as simple as that. It's about Meghan, it's about her profile, it's about her being one of those big A-list celebrities with all these celebrity friends, and, you know, it's all about Meghan. This isn't the life that Harry wanted. This was the life he escaped, or thought he had. He wanted to get out of the limelight. He wanted a normal life, particularly for his children. And yet Meghan, his wife, seems to be in a completely different wavelength, where she wants to build a brand, wants to make lots of money, and wants to be absolutely queen of the town or the city in Los Angeles.
Something quieter, more grounded, far away from cameras and headlines. A slower life, away from the noise, where privacy actually means something. And honestly, that part has people seeing his side a bit more clearly. But here's where things start to feel conflicted again. Reports suggest that while he may want a more private life for himself and his children, the reality doesn't always match that goal. The biggest concern being raised is how much Archie and Lilibet are being shown publicly, especially online. Commentary around this points to a growing contradiction. On one hand, there's a strong message about protecting family and staying out of the spotlight. On the other hand, there are moments being shared that bring that same spotlight right back in.
You know, Harry has already compromised because Meghan is doing this. It's like, come hell or high water, she is doing this. And I think he is losing the battle. But it does make him look like an absolute fool. I mean, remember the podcast appearance last year when he said no people at all, no parents at all should be posting their children on social media. It's like, well, have you spoken to your wife? She's doing it already.
Another argument being discussed is about safety. Some critics question whether sharing more publicly actually increases attention rather than reducing it. The more people see, the more curiosity grows, and that can lead to even more public interest, not less. At the heart of this is a broader conversation about boundaries. What should stay private? What's okay to share? And who gets to decide that for young children who didn't choose any of this? The overall feeling from this discussion is clear. There's a disconnect between what's being said and what's being done. And as more moments are shared publicly, that gap is becoming harder for people to ignore. The discussion around this situation keeps getting more intense, and one of the biggest accusations being thrown around is the idea of double standards. The couple stepped away from royal duties, supposedly leaving that life behind, yet critics point out that they still appear in ways that resemble official-style appearances. That contrast has people talking.
He's just thinking about the money. She's thinking about the commercial exploitations, right? She wants to exploit these two children in the same way that Beyonce exploits Blue Ivy, or the way that Kim Kardashian exploits Northwest. But if you actually look at this from a royal perspective, how on earth can Harry genuinely think his entire family are going to return to the United Kingdom and that they are not going to be photographed? I mean, it's just delusional. And actually, don't we have a right to see them, given they remain very high up in the line of succession, which is a whole other story? Personally, I don't think they should be there at all, but for the moment, they do.
At the same time, there's a strong focus on privacy, something they've openly said matters a lot to them. But here's where the debate heats up. While calling for privacy, there are still regular glimpses of Archie and Lilibet being shared online, even if their faces aren't always clearly shown. And for many observers, that raises a simple question. Does that really make a difference? Another layer to this conversation is the couple's past statements about social media and its effects, especially on young people. That's why some critics feel confused seeing their children appear in online content at all. It creates a contrast that's hard to ignore, and people are definitely noticing it. There's also the issue of media intrusion versus self-sharing. On one side, there have been strong objections to how the press handles private information. On the other, personal moments are still being shared publicly through their own platforms.
It's outrageous that Meghan is...
That contrast is fueling even more discussion, with some arguing that it sends mixed signals. A key concern being raised is whether partial privacy, like showing children from behind or obscuring faces, actually protects them. Some voices suggest it might even increase curiosity rather than reduce it, drawing more attention over time. And then there's the internal dynamic being talked about. According to ongoing commentary, there are suggestions that Prince Harry may not fully agree with how visible the children have become online. While that hasn't been confirmed directly, it's another detail adding to the growing conversation around control, boundaries, and public image. The conversation takes another sharp turn here, with strong claims about who is really behind the decisions being made. One major point being pushed is that the move to share more of Archie and Lilibet publicly likely isn't coming from Prince Harry. In fact, some believe he would be deeply uncomfortable with it. That idea lines up with what many have said about how much he values privacy, especially because of his own experiences growing up in the spotlight. There's also a bigger claim being discussed, that the current direction is more about building a public image than anything else.
I feel fortunate that our children are at an age, again, quite young, so this isn't in our immediate future. But I also feel frightened by how it's continuing to change, and this will be in front of us. As they say, being a parent, the days are long, but the years are short.
You know, Harry has shown that he is willing to go wherever Meghan wants to take him. Now, whether that's a regret for Harry or not, we simply don't know. But it's, you know, I've covered Prince Harry since he was a teenager, and I can tell you for a fact that he just does not want the limelight. He doesn't want images of his children on any form of social media. He really, really doesn't. He knows what it was like as a little child being paraded in front of the cameras, and he hated it. It scarred him. It damaged him. He doesn't want to damage his own children. So I do find this as a bit of an insight into perhaps who's in charge of that relationship, who's the driving force. And, you know, frankly, I worry for the whole family.
According to this perspective, Meghan is focused on creating a powerful brand, increasing visibility, and staying relevant in high-profile circles. That's not being stated as fact, but it's a viewpoint that keeps coming up in commentary. At the same time, there's a clear contrast being highlighted. On one side, there's the idea that Prince Harry always wanted a quieter, more normal life, especially for his children. On the other side, there are suggestions that the current lifestyle is moving in the opposite direction, with more exposure, more attention, and more public-facing moments. Another topic that keeps surfacing is parenting differences. It's being suggested that decisions around how Archie and Lilibet are raised, especially when it comes to social media, could be a point of tension.
Being a mom is the most important thing in my entire life, and outside, of course, being a wife to this one.
Blink and you'll miss it, but yes, that's a rare glimpse at Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's kids. 6-year-old Archie and 4-year-old Lilibet.
Of course, no one outside the relationship can confirm exactly what happens behind closed doors, but the speculation alone shows how much interest there is in this topic. What adds even more weight to this discussion is Prince Harry's past. Observers often point out that he has spoken about how difficult it was growing up constantly in front of cameras. That experience is believed to shape how he sees things now, especially when it comes to protecting his own children from similar exposure. There's also another claim being circulated that adds even more intrigue. It suggests that early expectations in the relationship may not have fully matched reality. For example, there were ideas about a quieter life in a completely different setting, but things eventually took a very different path. Again, this is based on commentary and interpretation, not confirmed fact, but it's definitely fueling more debate. All of this leads to one big question that keeps coming up. Whose vision is shaping their current life the most? While there's no clear answer, the contrast in perspectives being discussed has people watching closely.
Lectured about environmentalism and then took 4 private jet flights in 11 days. I don't know what we expect. I'm not surprised by this, but I'm not surprised that it's caused a bit of a ruckus.
The discussion continues with more insight into what Prince Harry may have originally wanted from life and how different things look now. There's a strong belief being shared that a quieter life, possibly somewhere like Africa, was always closer to his ideal. A slower pace, away from constant attention, something much more grounded. That's the picture being painted here. At the same time, it's acknowledged that some of his personal goals did come true. Becoming a father was clearly something he wanted, and that part of his life seems central to everything now. But beyond that, the contrast between expectation and reality is being talked about more and more. One perspective that stands out is how unusual his situation has always been. While many children dream of living a royal lifestyle, it's being suggested that Prince Harry may have wanted the opposite, a more ordinary life, away from the spotlight. And yet, despite stepping away from royal duties, the attention hasn't really disappeared. Instead, some commentators argue that the spotlight has simply taken a different form. Public appearances, high-profile events, and continued media attention are still very much part of the picture. That's where the confusion comes in. Wasn't the goal to step away from all of that? Another point being raised is the distance from his past life. There are ongoing claims that relationships with longtime friends and even family members have become strained over time. That sense of separation, geographical and personal, is something observers keep bringing up. The image being described is of someone who, despite leaving one world behind, may still feel caught in another.
Meghan Markle's upcoming animated series Pearl has been quietly dropped by Netflix. The show was set to follow the story of a 12-year-old girl exploring the stories of famous women through history, hoping to inspire young girls with positive stories from around the world. The Duchess of Sussex signed a $135 million deal with the streaming giant to voice the animated series. The streaming provider has seen a mass drop-off in subscribers, leading to billions of dollars in losses.
Living in a high-profile environment, surrounded by attention and expectations, even if it looks different from before. There's also a more personal angle being discussed. Based on past observations, Prince Harry has often been seen as someone who isn't driven by status or celebrity, in the same way others might be. That's part of why this current lifestyle raises so many questions among commentators. Of course, it's important to remember that much of this is interpretation from the outside looking in. No one truly knows the full reality of their relationship or decisions. What is clear, though, is that the situation continues to spark debate, and people are watching closely to see how things develop next. Another point raised in this discussion is about personality dynamics in relationships. There's a suggestion that Prince Harry has often been more laid back and willing to go along with his partner's lifestyle, even in past relationships. That's being used by some commentators to explain what might be happening now. But again, that's interpretation, not confirmed fact. This leads into a bigger question people keep asking. Can a relationship stay balanced if one side is seen as having more influence than the other?
Well, from writing children's books to creating her own podcast and even making jams, it's safe to say Meghan Markle is no stranger to a business venture. But the latest reporting suggests that the Duchess's lifestyle brand, American Riviera Orchard, has been suffering quite a setback. So now Meghan is trying a different venture to keep her brand alive, announcing she's investing in
Some believe that kind of dynamic can create long-term tension, especially under constant public pressure. Looking at the bigger picture, this situation is being described as more than just royal drama. It's also a personal story playing out in front of the world. Different perspectives continue to clash, especially around privacy, public image, and family decisions. One key takeaway from all this commentary is the ongoing belief that Prince Harry may prefer a more private life for his children, while the current reality seems to lean more public. Whether that's accurate or not, it's definitely a topic that keeps coming up. Now it's your turn. What do you think about everything that's been said here? Drop your thoughts below because the conversation doesn't stop here. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more updates like this. And don't miss the next video on your screen. It dives even deeper into the latest celebrity drama you won't want to miss. See you in the next one.